Welcome, dear guest, to Odd Tonic's 12 Days of Christmas Ghost Stories. In Victorian England, Christmas was the time to gather around the warm fireplace to share chilling tales of ghostly visitations. Odd Tonic is reclaiming this tradition by presenting ghost stories on every one of the 12 days of Christmas. They make for great personal listening or to share with friends and family as an icebreaker to tell true, unexplained tales of their own. Welcome to Day 7. Tonight's story is from the book Odd and Chilling Encounters by R.S. Russo. The school where I attend college was once a Japanese military base, and the building that stands as the admin building today was built during the Japanese occupation. Proof of this are the prison cells in the basement of the building with just small barred windows for air to pass through. Today, the basement is off limits to everyone, but during my years as a freshman, this was a working room for some art students. I can still remember it clearly. One day after my classes, one of the art professors invited me to watch some of the students paint in the basement. He was like a mentor and a father to me. Even if I was in the business department, he knows my knack for the arts, so he has always invited me over to watch his students work on their masterpieces. It was past 6 p.m. and the sky was getting dark. All my friends went home early, so I figured I could stop by for a few minutes before I had to head home. When I stepped into the basement, I was immediately greeted with a kind of depressed feeling. During this time, I didn't really believe any of the spooky stories the upperclassmen told us freshmen, brushing them off as merely a way to scare us off of their territory. What I felt, however, was something I couldn't explain. It was heavy, very heavy, and even with the bright lights, the room still seemed dark. I sat down in one area while the professor introduced me to some of his students. I noticed some empty bottles of beer on the tables where the paints and the brushes were, and was told that the students would sometimes drink while working, as it helps them with their art. Awkwardly, I just sat there while observing everyone around me. There were canvases on easels all over the place, paint cans, brushes, wooden blocks for carving, carving tools, and old newspapers. About an hour went by, and I was hungry. There were only 4 of us in the basement left, including myself and the professor. I stood up and was about to head to the door when the lights suddenly went out. Through the small windows, I saw there were lights outside, so apparently only the basement lost power. The professor then told us to stay put while he takes out his flashlight. Just as he finishes those words, I hear glass breaking, and then another. Someone screamed. Our professor turned on his flashlight and asked us to slowly approach him so we could all get out together and not bump into anything. We did so and made it out, just as another glass on the far corner of the room shattered. By this time, I was really shaking. The room suddenly felt even heavier, and the smell of something other than paint just wafted in. It smelled like smoke or burnt plastic. I don't really know, but it smelled burnt. We made it out, all 4 of us. Just as we started asking our professor questions, the lights went back on in the basement. Our professor said he had to go back down so he could turn off the lights and lock up. Without thinking twice, I volunteered to go with him and to pick up the other 2 students' bags they had left as we hurried out. As we descended the stairs, the smell of something burnt got stronger. The professor noticed it too. He covered his nose with his handkerchief. When we reached the basement, we immediately saw that something was wrong. All of the canvases were strewn all over the floor, face down. This couldn't have been possible, as the 4 of us were just in one corner of the room, and the canvases were all propped up on easels before the lights went out. What was even more unnerving were the beer bottles. They didn't fall like I thought they did when we heard glass shattering. Rather, they were all exactly where they were on the tables, with only their top halves broken and shattered. It was as if they were broke right where they stood. The smell of burnt something got even stronger, which our professor described as the smell of gunpowder. It suddenly grew very hot and suffocating in the room. He looked at me with fear. We grabbed the bags, turned off the lights, and hurried outside. The moment we stepped outside, I broke down. I felt like something was pressing on me, and it was just forcing me to cry. I didn't feel fear, but rather loss, and it was making me cry so much the two art students had to help me sip some water as I was shaking. That was the last time the basement was used as a room for students. Over the next few days, materials were taken out, leaving some old chairs and tables and supplies behind. The doors were then heavily bolted, and a huge "Unauthorized Persons Keep Out" sign was stuck on them. Our professor later told me that the basement was where Filipino and American soldiers alike were imprisoned and executed by the Japanese troops during the war. The administration thought keeping it well lit and occupied with people would make it all right to be used. However, now I know that there are just some places best left alone. Everyone, it seems, has a story. If you're listening as a group, share it now. Or send it to Odd Tonic. We'd love to hear it. You can reach us at theparlor@oddtonicsociety.com. Until then, join us again tomorrow for another thrilling, true tale on Odd Tonic's 12 Days of Christmas Ghost Stories. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube for future Odd Tonic episodes of weird history, strange science, and the paranormal. Good night.